meeting.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Just text. Text Grace to come. Okay. Are we all here?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Right. Yeah.
Need your camera on, Grace, her standing orders.
We are good. Hey, perfect. Okay. Thank you, Grace. All right. Kia ora koutou. Welcome. No mai haramai. Haramai to hui of Taratahi Council. Could I have someone like to do the prayer? Thank you, Lou. Councillor Newman.
Mai te pai maunga raro ki te tai, mai te awa tonga raro ki te awa raki, tēnei te hapori awhi Taratahi, Whano, haramai te toki, Haumi hui tāiki.
Thank you. Do we have any apologies? Did you say that Marama's coming online? She's not online yet, or she is online?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, let's take that as an apology for lateness. Can we do that, please? Conflicts of interest declarations. Are there any conflicts of interest to be declared? Nope. So noted. Public forum. Introducing Jason. Come to the table. Jason, welcome to the table, please.
Kia ora tātou. I'd like to give an update on the Carterton Indoor Pool project. Anna Beetham, the project manager, couldn't make it. So my role in that project is project management leading. So getting into contract design and those sorts of things. So the news is that we're really stoked that the Lions and Rotary want to get behind and provide their support to what we're doing. The geotech report, we've received it. We're looking at it. It's saying we need 5 metre deep foundations, and we're going back for a review, I guess, of that. So currently the foundations are 1 metre deep. So we're at that point. The tender documents, we've been working hard on those. They're pretty much ready to go, but next stage, of course, will be design. Construction, we're looking at April 2025, so from a year's time as the soonest we would start. We're assuming we just can't do demolition or construction of the exterior while the summer pool is running, so we'd have to wait until that wraps up in March next year. We've been looking at the Pahiatua Community Pool project because they want to use a very similar structure to what we're considering, which is a tensile fabric structure, like a very large tent that's insulated. We're going to go and meet with the product rep when he visits the country in March, and we're going to meet the trustees and talk to them about their project. This morning I just went and looked at Sharp Stock Feeds, have a very large imported shed. I think Rotary put us onto that. So there are many different build options that we're looking at. So coming events, I want to highlight the Big Swim. So that starts on Thursday, the 7th of March with the schools day. And then Friday and Saturday is for public to swim their laps or walk their lengths. And then the Sunday is the community day on the 10th, where we want maximum involvement from 11 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Grant applications, we're gearing up for that. We've contracted someone to support us with that process. And before that happens, we're looking at how we can do life cycle cost analysis, because we've got these different building types that we have to consider, not just the cost to put them up, the difficulty of putting them up, but mainly the heating, ventilation and air conditioning, because that will be a big on-running cost. So how they perform for that, we need to look at that over the coming years. I wanted to emphasise the fundamentals of the project, because the pool is sound. It's got another 50 years life. It doesn't leak. It's very unusual for a small pool, not owned by a council, of that type, not to leak. It doesn't leak. It's shallow, which is perfect for learners. It's shallow the whole length. It's good. It's very good for swimmers, the club, and it's pretty good for seniors too. So we get them doing their walking. And we think it's in a great location for southern Wairarapa to service the smaller towns. And of course, we have excellent tradition of service to the community, hence Russ Gange, we're awarded as QSM. So we're really thrilled that's been recognised. But the challenges, one of the main challenges we face is public misperceptions that we're a private pool, that we run for profit, and that we have exclusive access. And we're looking at how we address that. We're having challenges with volunteers and their energy and commitment and their capacity, and so that is a bit of friction at times. But Lions and Rotary coming on board is a really good way we can compensate for that. And the last challenge is the building styles, whether we go for a traditional steel shed or even a timber frame shed. Or a tensile fabric structure. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Sure. Thank you. Are there any questions, Deputy Mayor?
Just around the fundraising, in terms, if you've got a proposed timeline to work with, you know, how are you getting on with the fundraising?
We don't have any grant applications in yet.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions at all? Nothing? Yes. Yeah.
1 metre to 5 metres in foundations. That's quite
Yeah.
a big difference.
That is.
The cause, the reasons,
No, I'm only a graduate engineer. I never certified. It's a recommendation. So we've asked an independent party, a PhD in soil science, to get involved and get to the bottom of it. I'd be curious to know the foundations of the event centre. Yeah, and if there's a geotech report on file, it could be relevant because it's not too far from that site, so the soils would be quite simple.
Fair point.
have a look.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah, there we go. Other questions? Look,
Just
yes, you know.
1 metre that doesn't leak now. 5 metres seems excessive, you know.
Seems weird.
No, that's
Yes, the 1 metre depth is an advantage because there's less water pressure on the base of the pool, which is probably why it doesn't leak. So that is a strength of the pool, but the foundations of the building are currently 1 metre deep.
Thank you very much, Mark. I really appreciate the update. Pass on our regards to the committee here. Thank you.
okay. Thanks, sir.
Right, thank you very much. Youth Council, we have. Welcome to the table.
At our meeting on Monday evening. Yes, and we've come up with one opinion on the agenda. We were looking over the Ombudsman's report recommendation, and we saw a recommendation for the opening of workshops to the public. We believe there will be benefits to having workshops open to the public, especially in terms of opening it to youth council members. We would enjoy the opportunity to view the council processes and progress on strategies. We see the final products, but getting to see the building progress would be beneficial for us, gaining a better idea of what the council does and the processes it takes to getting strategies into the agenda can help us develop ideas in relationship with council staff. And being able to offer suggestions and ideas at a starting level could help us to understand the process of projects and get more involved in council, and also helps to develop inspiration of the younger generations into council and becoming staff or running for council itself.
Fantastic. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Given that workshops like meetings are generally during the day, would you envisage young people being watching or being involved in real time or after hours later on when more the time that suits?
I think depending on what the workshop is about and the interest a young person has on it, will depend on whether they'll be able to make time to get to things. I think personally, if they were open, I would like to come to most of them so that I can, when I'm going to youth council, I can give the school, the members that are still in school, updates on what is happening and have a better idea of when I come here and tell you what our opinions are.
Good response. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other question? Grace? Councillor Ayling? No? You're good? Well, it leaves it for me then to say thank you, as I consider that was quite a valuable contribution and showed a little bit of depth and insight, which is really appreciated and should be acknowledged. So please don't stop coming.
Thank you.
Seriously, thank you. And on board. Okay? Seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
Confirmation, item 6, confirmation minutes. Minutes were released and can I take it as being read and have a mover? Move. Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Cherry-Campbell. All in favour? Aye. Against? Motion's carried. Through. Destination Wairarapa. Glenda. Glenda.
May we invite Anna to the
Anna.
table?
Hi.
We could invite Glenda if you'd like.
Yeah.
But, we might get better responses from Anna.
Yeah. How you doing? Floor's yours. Got a report.
Oh, yeah. Koutou katoa. I guess the fortunate thing is, as predicted, last time I was here, we talked about what October was looking like, and that was in the middle of elections. And unfortunately, the whole of New Zealand was suffering under what was going to happen, what was the world going to look like in the future, and it meant that people weren't particularly going out, spending lots of money. We saw some day trippers coming over, and accommodation, as you would have seen, there was a bit of accommodation, but they certainly weren't spending like they used to, or at that particular time. And as we talked about, a lot of that had to do with not just the election, but job security in Wellington. We've talked a lot about that, interest rates and inflation. And that's, as we've all read probably recently in the papers, that's not going to change much in the next 6 to 12 months. On the bright side, we've seen more internationals come in, which is great. And certainly anecdotally over this Christmas period, we've had good domestic tourism. We've had a number of people coming through. We've seen people out and about enjoying the summer, this is what we've been waiting for about 2 years now. This is the Wairarapa summer. This is what we're known for, and this is what people get attracted to. And so that's really neat. And just this morning, I've been down at Kawakawa Station, which is down towards Ngāwi, talking to an operator down there who'd like to do some dark skies stuff. They're literally right in the middle of the heart of the Dark Sky Reserve. And the people on the track there was 6 Australians and 2 Swedish ladies. They're definitely here. And because of the nature of the exchange rate, they are spending, which is what we want. We want to build resilience. We want to attract more of those people so that, as I commented on, when we have the highs and lows of the environment, the global environment that we live in, that we can be a bit more resilient going forward. I was pondering this morning on tourism recently, and I was thinking, and I've made a note of all the things that we've promoted over the last few weeks in Carterton, or the Carterton region in particular, and I've got a really nice long list here, which I'm sure you're all well aware of. And I was thinking, Greytown you can see tourism. It's very visible because it's right on that main street. You go one street back and that's just residential. The same with Martinborough as well. You can see the tourism around that square, whether you're driving through to go to the coast or you're dipping in to do whatever, you can see the numbers. It's quite visible tourism. Masterton, to a certain extent, is the same with Queen Elizabeth Park. They've had a great deal of success with their whānau days just over the summer in the park. The skate park has been great for them, which is fantastic. But you don't see tourism quite so much in Carterton. But I can assure you it's happening. It's happening all over the place. And as I said, I was looking at this long list of things that have been going on and it's still to come. There's a lot of tourism happening in this space, and whether people are coming for flowers, honestly, that the daffodils, exactly, but also the sunflowers, the lavender fields, long bush cottage, it's who would have thought you're going to get quite so much. TP Cider's about to start their apple cider picking season, which is fantastic.
Balloons up this morning.
How is that? Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're known for, isn't it? And harvest coming up, they've extended their site so they can get more capacity, which I think is a really smart move. They've certainly they've sold the tickets they need. It's now the icing on the cake. So we're helping them push out that message that the sun is shining, and Carterton is here to welcome them with open arms. I'm really excited to see how they've reconfigured it this year. Stonehenge is doing well. There's a new bed and breakfast, a rural property that has come to us asking advice of how they, price up and how to promote themselves. There's the dark skies thing is just going off. Sam and Harry, they're making some great money. They're 250%, their business has increased. They've extended one of their product lines that astrophotography has become quite a thing. And they were charging, I think, $30 a head. They're going to up that to $50, increase the capacity, because people are really, really into taking, photos of this beautiful, beautiful sky that's sitting above us. And I just want to say, it's really exciting. And whatever you guys are doing right, where you are, continue to do so. I mean, Earl is about to open as well. There's just so many cool things happening, and it's a pleasure to come and talk to you about them. But you already know anyway.
Good to see Gladstone Vineyard do a market the day after the Martinborough Fair too. That was real. We popped up there. It was really busy.
Good.
Yeah,
because Deirdre was, she's keen to get that up and going.
Yeah.
It's a challenge with that particular space, but
it actually worked really well.
Really well.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
And the recent cycle classic that came through the Wairarapa.
Yeah.
What involvement did DW have with that?
Nothing really. It's a challenging one. We've tried to engage with it, but it's very we promote it, but because it's mostly about the cyclists and their teams, and they're coming through on that thing anyway. Certainly promote it to those enthusiasts that are involved. But the real draw card for them, actually, as it turns out to be, is the Wellington one, and I can understand that. So that's where a lot of the focus goes.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
So
You go.
well, just to say, when you last presented, as you said, in October, things were in the doldrums. The sun shining, yep, there's some positives, but really the economic forecasts aren't much better, much different. What do you suggest the next 12 months is going to look like?
Yeah, that's where the internationals come in. And we have coming up a big trade show, Trends, which is in Wellington for the first time ever, which we will definitely be at. And the great thing is that Star Safari is actually invested into having their own stand there. I mean, their potential is huge. They've, as you saw in the report, the cool things that they're looking to achieve in that area. Bringing in more internationals will help us be more resilient and weather those shocks. It's going to take time, but we're on the right pathway, and that's all about what product development is about. We really haven't invested into that space until in the last 18 months, and that's an area of importance for us, because they are the ones that will help those smaller businesses realise potential agritourism is another one. It's developing, you know, the farmers out there, land prices are not good, and you know, to diversify on land and an agritourism business. Another reason I was down at Kawakawa Station, they do it really, really well. And I was just talking to them about how they got started up, what are the pitfalls. You know, there's MPI involved in it. There's all sorts of regulations they have to work through. So if we can assist in that space to help have more availability of product. Now, product is stuff that an international person in Australia, for example, can purchase from their travel agent here in the Wairarapa. And that's not restaurants and cafes, that's accommodation, tours, transport, events, those sorts of things.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, is where's our biggest gap? What do we need to fill or need to be thinking about helping fill? And you say it's more product.
Yeah, accommodation would be great.
So, I mean, given the economic times and people have houses and they have rooms, and, you know, Airbnb is the thing people talk about, but that's not the only way of accommodating visitors in exchange for money. Like, I just wonder, is there any opportunity to run seminars or workshops with the average person to consider or connect residents with ways of maximising their
like the old-fashioned B&B,
eh?
the old-fashioned B&B style.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've got a lot of retired folk living in 3 and 4 bedroom houses. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Can I just add to that, Christiana? And where does Biz Wairarapa fit within that possible work stream?
Sure. So, first of all, to answer your question, we haven't done anything specifically. Let me backtrack a bit. So product development, pricing isn't an area that Destination Wairarapa has had any involvement in, because we are an RTO. When we got that money from the government that allowed us to develop product, and we got the lady Chrissy Cummings on, she's a product development specialist. So it's all about packaging, it's pricing, all that sort of stuff, what you need to consider the bigger picture. She has been working in the area of dark skies recently, and where there is alignment is with agritourism. So we're starting off with farming folk who have a second property, it might be a shearer's shed or an extra farmhouse that they can utilise to turn into a bed and breakfast or some sort of thing. So that's, and also there's a dark skies opportunities often when you're in a farm, particularly out towards the coast, less light pollution, and more opportunity to offer the dark skies under a hot tub or whatever it may be, or in a lavender field, whatever it may be. But there is opportunity for that to happen. With Business Wairarapa, there isn't any expertise around tourism product development within Business Wairarapa, but what they do have expertise and mentors for is the general business expertise you need. So business planning, financial considerations, website development, the things that build into a business, but the actual, you know, when I talk about product, it is quite a specific word and a way of doing things in tourism, and the supply chain to market is very different from any other industry. And that's where Chrissy is a specialist. And that's why having her in the region is such a huge advantage to us, and has given us some really tangible benefits. Because as I said to you, look, a year ago, from last year, this one business, Star Safari, increasing 250%. That's a Chrissy thing. I couldn't have done it. No one else actually in Wairarapa can, that I'm aware of, and I've been in the industry for a wee while. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It's a hand in glove thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
The Biz Wairarapa can provide the skills to run the business.
Yep.
You can provide that DW can provide that overlying expertise on how to market your product.
Yep.
How to package it and get the best value out of the product that you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is, so it's a hand in glove.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah, Grace. Sorry. Councillor Ayling. Mute. On mute.
You're mute.
Sorry.
That's
I just had a question with the Star Safari. With their price increase from 45 to 75 per person, are you concerned that that's going to be pricing out families in the Wairarapa from using that? Is it
No.
mainly aimed at international or?
Yes, it's mainly at international. The kids are still free. Anyone under 15 is free. So it's a different proposition. They also they do their STEM. They're heavily involved in STEM. So they work through all schools or most schools through the Wairarapa, but certainly throughout New Zealand. They're very focused on kids, and that's what they're doing with their tourism stuff. Which a lot of people do. Their why is children. Their why is I want kids to be excited and enthusiastic about the night sky. How do I fund that? And tourism is the way in order to give back to their why.
Just on that, Grace, as well, they do an annual pass for local families. And so I think it's a couple of $100 and you get unlimited visits.
Awesome. Good to know.
Cool. Are there just Councillor Laurence?
I've thought about this from time to time, so I'll ask you. We're just too far away from Wellington, aren't we, to tie into this cruise ship market?
Yeah, and the hill is the biggest problem.
Yeah.
So they're on a really tight schedule. And yeah, they're on a really tight schedule. And if by chance they get over the hill and there's a crash or whatever, and they can't get back on time, the boat leaves without them. And so the cruise lines, although you can book it independently if you wanted to, you've got to take that own risk yourself. They don't allow you to sell, or they don't allow a business to sell on board from over here because of that time issue. It's a real unfortunate thing, because we know, as an example, Sam and Harry, there's a astronaut who's on a cruise line in Wellington today, doesn't have time to come over and see Sam and Harry because they know of them and the work that they're doing. So they're meeting in the hut in between two school visits that they're doing. So that's just the problem that we have, unfortunately.
Another problem with cruise liners is they don't stay overnight.
No,
in Wellington,
no.
most of them.
No. They all
in the morning and gone on at night.
That's right. They cruise at night and then stop in port for the days.
The new trains might change things a bit.
Possibly, as long as they become reliable.
Any other questions? Quite a lot of meat on the report. Anything particular in the report you want to highlight? Anything else?
Can I just ask, you said you had a big list in front of you of all the events in Carterton. Can you read that out?
Oh, not the events, the things that have been happening.
Sorry, Anna.
That's right. So just in the last couple of weeks, so we've had lavender, sunflowers, Longbush Cottage, which was in the report as well. The astrophotography seminars proving popular, increased capacity. Obviously, the event centre's got a couple of events coming up next weekend, and which is including the Michael Jackson tribute, and then another one after that. No, 2 weeks away, one after that. Harvest Festival coming up shortly. The new bed and breakfast that's looking for help. All early opening. At Gladstone Vineyard, the market day that they had just recently. And then you've got the free stuff. Lots of people enjoying the Waianahi Gorge, the park. You know, there's a lot of tourism happens not on the main street. So it's not necessarily visible as you're passing through, but it's certainly happening out there. Fish and Manuka is another one. They're full out, not just weekdays, but during the week. And Chrissy said to them, why don't you put a pool in? And, hot tub, not a pool. And their numbers have just gone up. So, and they can price more for that experience. And they're still fully booked. Lots going on.
Don't tell anyone about the blackberries at Carter's Reserve, though, please.
Okay, I won't. Now they know of them, though.
Just a shout out too from Southway. I'm involved in Naui a bit, and the times that I've had people visiting us, we've been around the lighthouse, and there's usually 20 to 30 cars there every day of every weekend. And there was a big fishing comp there last weekend.
Yeah, it's a spectacular place,
So,
and we're getting the numbers over
Magic
here.
bit of coast road.
Yeah, and the key thing is to move them out further out to the coast and up to the Tararuas and make the most of our whole region. That's where the old camper vans come in handy too. Yeah. They
A lot of
tend-
them down.
that's right. They tend to hub and spoke. They'll go somewhere and then move out from there.
How's Carterton Airbnbs performing in the zone? Are they?
To be honest, I don't particularly look at the Airbnb data. Yeah, that's.
Other than being award-winning, I mean.
You mean Airbnb or bed and breakfast?
Was it being Airbnb? I thought.
So Airbnb is the peer-to-peer,
Or
and we don't because they don't tend to be involved in tourism, as in they don't get involved with Destination Wairarapa. It's a challenging one and one which we all struggle with across the country.
okay.
Stuff.
Councillor Ayling.
I just have one other question with regards to the Dark Skies Connections event.
Yes.
And your guest speaker, Graham Murray. I just wonder what takeouts did Destination Wairarapa have from that? Because I've been down to the Tekapo setup and it's awesome, and I'd love to know what inspiration people got from that.
Yeah, lots of inspiration. He was great. He was a fantastic person to come on board. The interesting thing was that with Tekapo is, he was there from the beginning, and he was able to talk through how Tekapo evolved, and Ngāi Tahu and also Chinese investment was a big thing for its bigger explosion. And it's that situation where, in my belief, you build the product, build the opportunity, and make sure you manage the growth. And if as it grows, the market will take over and people will be interested in it. But the key thing, I think, for councils is to make sure you manage it in line with what your community wants. And that's why you've got to keep hold of that opportunity, because it's all well and good for the market to take over, but do you really want lots of money in certain things? You've got to consider the ownership, I think. And that's where I hope, my personal point of view, is with Dark Sky, that we continue to manage the opportunity in a way that the community say they want tourism.
Any other questions?
I don't think you mentioned the Motorplex, they're a bit of a tight group anyway. But when they come, all the accommodations are gone.
I know, and it's such a shame that the drags got cancelled on Sunday. They're a big, group. There's lots of great interest groups that utilise the Wairarapa, and they're a great example of that. Yeah.
They come from Invercargill also.
Yeah, and all the car clubs is another one. The opportunities there.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Anything else? Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. So you have the reports and the attachments. You've seen those. Had the Q&A. Could I have someone receive the report? Councillor Della, seconded by Councillor Laurence. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. 7 point. Whoops.
Still
Just
got your
jumped.
hand up, Grace?
Yes, you did. Oh, still got a hand up. 7.2 financial reports. Moving on. Who's from? Aaron?
Aaron, is taking charge today.
Aaron?
Hi,
Okay. Yeah. How are you?
and thanks. So these are our financial reports till 31 December. You might have noticed there's a few of the tables in there and graphs have sort of changed slightly. So they're a bit of a work in progress. Hopefully you all like them. So I'm presuming that you guys have read all the information that's in here. And I've just there's only kind of one thing to note other than this, and I've sort of mentioned it in the report, that the contributions are behind budget, but it's all got to do with the timing of the subdivisions. So there is still a possibility that we will be on track at year end, because it's like up a bit down at the moment on year end. So that was the only big thing I thought we should note. All of the other expenditure items are sort of due to timing of the budgets or phasing
So it's nothing really to know.
So if we round the year off, still behind, we end up with a deficit or smaller surplus.
Smaller amount to go into the reserve. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, sorry.
Councillor Laurence?
Yeah, just a few little things.
I knew.
Sorry, no. It's, I'd like to say is I continue. I got quite excited at the last meeting about our budgeting. I think it continues to be really good. Just a couple of things that struck me, and one of these is really minor, but the petrol tax. We're only budgeting for 56,000 for the 6 months, but we've only got half of that. How can that be? How can that vary like that? You'd think people would fill their car up every day.
It's quite a tricky one. It's we get a portion of the petrol tax that's taken at the Bowsers. So it's based on that. So we get a quarterly payout from them in regards to that.
Yeah,
It is very hard to budget as well. So yeah, it might just be a timing thing as well. I can double check that for you if you like.
Can also change. So I noticed the new Waitamo that's opened just at the south end of Masterton might have diverted a lot of people from filling up in Carterton if they coming through. They may have stopped and filled up in Masterton instead.
Okay.
So I that sort of thing does make a difference when there's a new station open. It does.
And holiday weekends, long weekends, that sort of stuff.
Cancellation of the drag races would have helped. I mean, they're all V8.
I think, to be fair, the marketing of Waitamo is very, very good. Most people go off the board sign. Whereas if you look at certain other companies and you check the loyalty cards, there's one that's consistently better than them, but people don't do that checking. They go to Gatsby. That's where you go. That's where they go. And
12 cents with farmlands, I think, beats everything.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's.
You had a second question.
Yeah.
You had two questions?
Well, just. Suppose that.
Only two.
No, I don't.
Give them time.
How we didn't budget for the Better Off funding grant? Did it just come?
So you'll recall the announcement recently of closure of Three Waters cost $1.2 billion. So about $500,000 of that was the first tranche of Better Off funding, and that was paid out. So we didn't budget for it. It was we obviously when the previous government passed the legislation for Better Off funding, we too put our hand out and took our share.
As we should. Councillor Ayling.
Yeah, I got one more.
Oh, you said two.
I just had a question. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I just had a question on page 40 with regards to rentals received were ahead of budget due to a lease payment. Why was the lease payment not in the budget in the first place? Was it a new property or something?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this would have been the lease that we've done with Greater Wellington on the Dalefield farm. So that wasn't budgeted. That was a new lease that occurred during the year. That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Laurence.
Except that, one more question, and I should know the answer to this, but I don't. A whole big chunk of our expenditure is called community support, 3.2 million. What's in there?
It's the parks and reserves and
libraries.
Yeah.
Centre.
So everything that's Glenda's.
Yeah.
Glenda's focus.
She has.
Okay.
That's the name of it.
Glenda's social.
It's Glenda's support. Yeah, supporting the community. So yeah, it is a lot of that, parks and reserves and facilities and events and libraries.
Councillor Newman.
I see event income is at 67%. Are we anticipating that it'll hit the budgeted amount for the whole year? On page 39. It's at 126, with anticipated to be 187.
Could we potentially,
Yeah,
We've got quite a lot of events scheduled in, that both joint ventures and private event running in that. The income is not necessarily our income. We had to budget it as the total income that's coming into our books, and then most of that goes back out to those ones that are hiring out the venue. So it's a little bit funny with how we budget it versus what is actually ours, but we're working on that at the moment.
perhaps to answer the question, we've got quite a lot of scheduled events
Yes.
upcoming. So we're doing everything we can to sell the event centre to the market. Whether we make the budget may depend on the mix of those events, whether they are events that we bring in or events that want to come here on their own. And that does make a difference to the charging regime. But we are working really hard on pushing those events. Great question, though.
Any others? Councillor Ayling, nothing? No? You're good? Yeah. Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. So moving to page 42, can someone move we receive the report? Councillor Newman, seconded by Councillor Cherry-Campbell. All in favour? Aye. Yes. Motion's carried. 7.3 on page 45. Finance and Regional Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 2023 to 9 for adoption.
So it's unavailable at the moment. So we've got the stand-in. Yeah.
The UN.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and councillors. So the report before you is for the adoption of the revised waste minimisation plan. I'm going to take the report as read and then just point out that we followed the development has been taken as was started in December 2022. It's taken we followed the process throughout the year, working together with all the regional council, all the councils in the region. In July, between July and September, it went out for regional consultation, and then in December, the joint committee made a recommendation to council to adopt the plan. To date, the plan has been adopted by both Hutt City and Upper Hutt City Council, Kapiti, Porirua and South Wairarapa District Council. I believe Masterton District Council is receiving this report this afternoon, and Wellington City will also receive it during this month. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Your Worship.
Looking for questions?
I'd just like to make a statement, which I've made before. There's 79 pages of this, and
Waste minimisation.
He gets his electronic, unlike people.
And we got it on Friday afternoon. I've been working every day since then. I have no view on whether this is good or bad for Carterton, so I'm on this. I think we could have had it over Christmas, so I could have read it under a tree somewhere, but I haven't.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Councillor Laurence, the report is the adoption of the plan. The waste minimisation plan has been visible for quite some time, and that's been communicating all throughout last year, and we did give updates on that. Our council is also represented on the joint committee through Councillor Steve Cretney. That's been working on that group, But I do take on board, we didn't feel that the waste minimisation plan as such is new news. It is just the report.
I'm sure it's all fine, but
Councillor Della.
Thanks, His Worship. Perhaps the question probably should go back to Steve, being our representative. Steve Cretney, are you happy with the overall plan now, Stephen, or can you see any changes that Carterton could do?
I'd just like to say I think it was a fantastic process that we went through. And you've given an idea, you can just look at the time that we worked on this, and the consultation process was very good. We had a lot of feedback from the various communities and the other districts and so forth that we took into consideration. I think that the thing that you should be looking at is probably on page 81 and the targets. That's really what's going to be pushing us going forward. And I think Savish is working on our implementation plan at the moment, which is how we implement our local action plan. So there was a lot of talk about making those targets a lot higher, but we thought with the pressure that's going on from government with everything else, that to put even more pressure on councils was not a good idea. So the targets were set where they are now, and I'm very comfortable with where this plan sits.
Thanks, Steve.
I also, the thing that I noticed on page 51, really the question is, how is this plan different from the previous one? And I like that shift away from the initial plan was becoming waste free to the circular economy, keeping waste being reused and recycled as much as possible, which I think is a practical response to the way people operate. The pressure to be waste free balanced against the impact on a lot of people's lives, reusing and recycling seems to be much more practical and palatable. So I think this is one of those cases where the document reflects practice rather than the document trying to change practice. So yeah, I think well done.
Any other questions? Observations? Councillor Ayling, yes, please.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love this move to a circular economy model. I think that seems very smart. My only question was with regards to, there was a line in there saying that we're going to be committing the business community to minimising waste by 20%. And I just wonder what that would tangibly look like. How are we going to be committing the business community? How do we enforce that?
No more books.
Yeah, Councillor Ayling, so that is part of the development of the implementation plan. So within the waste minimisation plan, we have local actions, and getting those local actions implemented is what the region's working on at the moment. And yeah, so the exact details of that's not finalised yet.
Well, good, thank you.
Any other comments, observations, questions? That's fine. Thank you very much, Johannes. Well, let's move straight to recommendations and recommendations on 48. I'll take the first one, and then if it's okay with, we'll take 2, 3, and 4 as one, and then we'll take 5. So, first resolution that we adopt the Waste Management and Minimisation Plan 23 to 29. Someone to move, please. Councillor Cretney, seconded. Hey, you have to. You have to. You're the representative. And someone to second. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Taking recommendation 2, 3, and 4 as one. Someone to move, please. Councillor Cretney again. Thank you. And Councillor Gallon. Thank you. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. And recommendation number 5 agrees to revoke the existing 2017 to 23 Wellington Regional waste minimisation plan. Someone moved by councillor Cretney, seconded by councillor Della. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Moving forward. Thank you, Johannes. And we're into racing and gambling and venues policy. Rosair, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, the Mayor, councillors. This first one, I would just like to note that this report is 28 pages for
I know, but we still.
councillor Laurence. That's why I didn't include the other 200 pages that you have already seen. So as you'll note from reading this report, this has come about due to the three councils having a combined policy, and both South Wairarapa and CDC resolved to adopt the policy as it was. Masterton was meeting at the same time on September the 13th last year, and they weren't aware that we had adopted it as written and as per the policy working group's preferred option. They wanted a slightly more restrictive policy where there was no relocation to the high deprivation areas in Masterton, being classified as decile 9 and 10 areas. I just again want to reiterate, we don't have any decile 9 and 10 areas in Carterton, so that relocation policy would never have applied to us. Anyway, so they also took the paper back to MDC on the 18th of October, who confirmed that they wanted to stay with their original decision to have that slight regional variation to the policy. This is why this report has come back to the elected members for further adoption with the preferred option of the Wairarapa working group who met in 23rd January this year. And so it is to adopt the policy with that regional variation. Happy to answer any questions that I didn't already answer back in September.
Are there any questions? Yes,
Solly, I think you've explained it really well. And if we do adopt with that regional relocation, it's not going to affect us anyway or have any implications for Carterton District, is it?
No.
No.
Well, it's a good, it shows you that the process works to have that working group and to have each council being able to reflect their own community within a region-wide policy is exactly why it's there.
And it's great because it means that we still have the regional policy as opposed to separate policies, 2 or 3, whether it's us and South Wai.
This begs the question why their representative didn't put it up in the first place.
The original working group meeting that we had, their representatives were for what we all voted for. It was their other elected members. I think it was led by maybe 1 or 2 in particular who didn't like what was put to at their council meeting on the policy, and it was driven from somebody outside of the working group. They didn't take into account recommendations from the conversations in the working group's meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Right, so we have a solution and we have some recommendations. Are there any other? I'm taking there's no other further questions. Just moving on. All righty, thank you, Sophia. So we have a few recommendations in there. Firstly, we received the report. Someone to move. Thank you, Councillor Cherry-Campbell, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Motion is carried. Let's do the noting 2, 3 together. If we and 6, can I do that? Do 2, 3 and 6 all together. Someone to move, please. Councillor Cretney, seconded by Councillor Laurence. Thank you. All in favour? Aye. Against? Councillor Ayling, thank you. Motion is carried. Left out 8. Sorry, missed that. Recommendation 4 agrees to make the amendment to the draft policy as listed there, A to E. Take 5 as well, adopts the statement of proposal and draft policy. We're all comfortable doing that. And can I'll take those as 1, 4 and 5. Someone to move, please. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by Councillor Della. All in favour? Aye. Against? Motion's carried. where am I left? 7 and 8. I will take those as one, if I might.
You did 8 already under note.
I did know I missed it. I dropped it. I missed it. Sorry. Take 7 and 8 together. One delegates the authority of the CE to approve minor edits as necessary and notes the Wairarapa Policy Working Group will hear submissions and undertake deliberations and be very busy on that work. Someone to move, please. Councillor Newman, second to Councillor Cretney. All in favour? Against? Is carried. Did I miss any? No. Thank you. Well done. Thank you very much for that and for your diligence. 148. It's moving forward right past all of that. And
You're from
7.5.
Current, able to discuss the Chief Ombudsman's report with regards to council meetings and workshops.
Good afternoon, councillors. Here's Bishop for me. I take it the report is read. Just to cover the main points, is in October last year, the Ombudsman issued a report on called Open for Business. They had done an investigation into councils around the country who had been conducting workshops and meetings and suggestions were having too many closed meetings and workshops. However, as a result of the investigation, there has been some recommendations from the Ombudsman that he expects the councils to adopt. The main point is that workshops should now be open to the public. All workshops should be open to the public unless there is a very specific reason to publicly exclude them. So some of those publicly excluded reasons might be around privacy or, very confidential matters that we would have to consider to make it publicly excluded. The other thing the Ombudsman has also highlighted is that in terms of when we have a publicly excluded content or meeting, at some point we need to consider our basis for releasing that publicly excluded information at a later date. So those are the two main points and findings from his report. We've attached a copy of all of his points, recommendations with council's comments on where our position is currently on most of these things. And it's fair to say we generally conduct or do most of the information that's stated in his report. So the main change is workshops now being open to the public.
Did the Ombudsman come out with a definition of workshop? Like, what's the distinction?
In meetings, yes, he did. It's a full report.
So a briefing is different to a workshop, for example? I mean, I don't know, and I'm not trying to dodge around the subject. I'm just curious as to what type of gathering and who might be there as determined to be, like, do we need to be going forward? Do we need to be thinking about how we congregate and how we share information? I don't know.
I think part of the challenge was where there was significant decisions being made in a closed workshop that either reduced options or eliminated possibilities that when the follow-up report came to council looked like it was a slam dunk or a done deal. And that was because there'd been options that were available that may have been eliminated at workshop stage that weren't transparent when it came to the public meeting as to why that option had been eliminated previously. I think that was one of the major concerns. I can't recall instances where where Carterton District Council may have done that, but that was his feedback on other, on his review of a number of councils.
I think a full report's online. members may want to take the time to have a read of it. I think when it first came out, Jeff and I had a conversation and we looked at it. I think we all know that the writing has been on the wall in this space for quite some time. Probably different local body elections over the years it has been raised as an issue of constituents. And so it was only a matter of time before the Ombudsman would put his microscope on it and have a look and come up with some decisions. It's for us to apply his determinations in a pragmatic and transparent way, I think. And
might cut down on LGOIMAs on taxpayer.
Yeah.
Taxpayers Union aren't likely to come and turn up at any of our workshops, are they?
You could just refer them to the videos.
Councillor Della.
Yeah, it concerns me a little bit because, you know, like all the time that I've been on council, these accusations come against councillors that we're not being transparent and everything's been done behind closed doors. But when you think of it, you know, we do have advisory groups. They're basically people from the public, not elected people, and things are discussed, some of them in confidence and some not. And so, you know, I think anybody that really wants to can become part of those advisory groups and find out the stuff, you know, like the Ombudsman is only one person's opinion, as the way I see it.
He's an officer of Parliament.
Yeah, I know he's an officer of Parliament, but it's also in his report, it says here, his expectations are, you know, like it doesn't say by law you will.
He might have a God complex.
You know, so I'm just wondering whether, you know, are his expectations going to become law or not? Or are they just reasonable practice that council should follow? Because I think there is a difference.
Yeah, I sort of wonder about finding that balance. I mean, we're always trying to maximise efficiency to save the ratepayers, you know, money and us and all of that. So it's going forward, it's managing that desire to be efficient and not overlap stuff, but also meeting some members of the public's expectations that we're acting with integrity. So, you know, I'm sure we'll find that spot, but hopefully we don't create another layer of inefficiency to what we do, because there's plenty of that already.
I think we should probably take Jeff's comment as the guider, as that dealing with people's perceptions that decisions are being pre-positioned in workshops and options ruled out before the public get to see the debate at this table live on the screen is a perception that only builds and grows if you don't address it as a concern. And I think there's the pragmatic steps to show that we are listening and we are taking on board and we have acted. You know, if we don't, then the consequences come back from the Ombudsman's office, and that's it. And more importantly, the consequences are that we have a perception in our community that we're trying to hide something, which we're not. So I would argue that if we made every workshop and every meeting open to people, no one would turn up. And we see that on countless occasions with the LTP, when we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, a lot of it through the Wairarapa Times Age and other papers, Carterton Cry. And so putting out information, making available dates for people to come and sit down and converse, and 2 people turn up out of a population of 10,500. Such is democracy, and such is, you know, that is the way things work. So we can only follow the recommendations being given, and we'll get on with it. And
presumably under this, then that would involve taping and recording and keeping on. So I mean, it's not just having the door open.
No.
It's actually following through on the record keeping
Minutes.
and having high level minutes
of workshops that haven't been done in the past. So again, coming back to that efficiency and just finding a balance of what works to get the business of council done without impeding it through all the best intentions.
I think that one recommendation, high level minutes in itself, will go a long way to placating a lot of people's fears and concerns. And what's hard about that? I don't see a problem myself. Councillor Newman.
Just a question. It says in here that the council meetings are streamed and recorded and then published on the website. Is that going to be the same with workshops? They're going to be saying consider live streaming, video and recording, but nothing about publishing them on the website?
No, Robin, can you just, no, there's no mention of needing to record. It's just that we have to open them to the public and also have some minutes available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unless there's a very clear, explicit reason as to why not with the criteria.
So open to the public, they'd be welcome in here, but we would also stream them or not?
No.
Okay.
It's not recorded.
Okay.
So once again, it's throwing another mandated thing at us that we've got to comply with and wear the cost of.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, isn't it? It's another cost.
Yep.
Pretty modest one.
It's a modest cost. It's,
I don't know, ask Jeff, he'll tell us.
well, I think we've.
How does that, I'm thinking for the beginning of each training and new councillors come on board and the training and the workshops that new councillors undergo. So will all of those be open to the public?
Yes.
So that would be quite off-putting for somebody who's, and maybe some of our youth that might want to come onto council and want to kind of learn the ropes and things, and then all of a sudden may feel that they don't want to ask certain questions or question content of the workshop because it's open to the public and they don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing, which, let's face it, when all of us pretty much come around the council table, council business is completely different to any other form of business or trust or board that some of us may sit on. I'm just a little bit concerned that that's actually going to put another barrier up to stopping people in our community wanting to stand as an elected member.
Unintended consequence.
Yeah.
Like any, I mean, as Ron said, as Worship says, that's the opinion of the Ombudsman. We're obliged to continue that through and but who knows where it's going to end.
No,
So
we're good.
I agree with Robin, and
Okay.
maybe he's been given bad information.
Okay, so
I was just going to ask about what about the working groups? So as we've just talked about the gambling, big working groups, will that need to be open to the public as well? Same, it's no real difference.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Same as our advisory groups. Yeah.
We're having pre-workshop.
They won't be workshops.
Yeah.
There'll be coffee breaks.
don't be afraid.
Oh, but that is the risk though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
And it
definitely
becomes something else.
risks with
That-
and of meaning we get less questions and less rigor from councillors who may not want to ask those questions in a public forum, but may be happier to ask them in a private forum.
The other side of that coin is that people who are watching this right now get to see a debate. And they see that, and they can take confidence from the fact that two sides have been aired and discussed, and then a decision. And it may be unanimous, it may not be. There may be councillors voting for and against. That's what they elect you for. They want to hear that. Workshops, they don't necessarily hear that at all. They don't hear the argument and debate across as to why this option is a good option, that option is not a good option, and that generates that perception that we're doing stuff behind closed doors. The fact that it makes it easier for us to churn through a mountain of work and get through a mountain of discussion, it gets lost on some people. But
it's also
so it's a two-sided.
It's also not workshops that we participate in here. So this is for anybody that's listening in the public and chooses to. it's not necessarily that we're getting through work, is that we're being informed and briefed on things that are going on under council business, that it's our opportunity to understand more what's going on from a governance point of view and having that lens over it and asking questions. So it's not like we're actually, as a councillor, it's all work, but it's not, we're not working, if you like, and making decisions in these workshops. And it's, does this also include governance sessions?
It's interesting because every other aspect of society, businesses, families, it's, the management of a business considers a whole lot of things outside of the employee's ears until it's directly relevant. So, it is a little bit different to everything else I've been involved in to say that every part of your operation is completely open. That would impact positively or negatively. I don't have a view on that, but it drives a change of behaviour. And so it'll be interesting as this rolls out around other councils as to what that behaviour consequence might be in order to be efficient and deliver the business. So,
I think all the comments are valid. We're looking for recommend and it's good that this conversation has happened live so people can see it. There are winners and losers, and there's advantages and disadvantages. But the rulings are the rulings, and we have a recommendation that we receive the report. Moved by Councillor Cretney, seconded by Councillor Cherry-Campbell. I just remind you, this motion is that we receive the report. All in favour? Aye. Against? Aye. Councillor Della voted against. That's fine. Thank you very much. Motion is carried. Thank you, Karen.
There's one more.
You got them? Sorry. Oh, what did I miss? I just put them through in a hurry. Notes that the CDC. Okay, sorry. My apologies. Second recommendation that we note the planned action by CDC in relation to Chief Ombudsman's report, as highlighted, moved by Councillor Cretney, seconded by Councillor Newman. All in favour? Thank you. Motion's carried. And you're again? Oh, you're against it again, Brian? Okay. So please record Councillor Dalla's opposition to that. 10.6, page 154. Policy on elected members' allowances and expenses. Karen, thank you.
Each year, we receive from the Remuneration Authority an update on elected members' allowances and expenses. And each year we bring it to the table just for confirmation. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit late this time, but we're bringing it to the table just to highlight what those expenses and allowances are as set out by the Remuneration Authority for the 23-24 year.
Are there any questions?
Oh, just to point out that we have been paying the allowances at the new rate every year.
Thank you.
We won't be changing it on the 1st of April when it's in for electric vehicles. Let's change that next year.
Yeah, okay.
I would expect the Remuneration Authority would pick that up next year.
Okay. Any questions? Nothing? No. Someone to move, we receive the report, please. Councillor Cretney, Councillor Della, all in favour? Aye. Against? Motion's carried that we adopt the changes. Recommendation 2, we adopt the changes as stated there in front of you. Moving, Councillor Laurence, seconded. Councillor Cullen. All in favour? Aye. Against? Motion is carried. Thank you. Representation review timeline 2024. Let's go.
Again,
It's the Karen show.
Obviously, we're aware that we're still in the process of representation review, and we have done or completed 2 phases of this work, and we're now entering the 3rd phase of the work. The first phase was to determine whether we retain first past the post, and the second point was to establish a Maori ward. So both of those were covered off last year. So the next phase is for council to review if the current representation arrangements are fit for purpose for the number of elected members we have or wards that we may wish. So this paper is just here to inform and remind you of what the next phase of this review entails. This review will run concurrently with the LTP. But it is not connected to the LTP, but will run in parallel with the final adoption of the initial proposal for the representation review 3rd stage due on the 26th of June. So we will be engaging Stephen Hill from Elections New Zealand to support us in making sure we do all of this process correctly. Our first workshop is scheduled for the 13th of March. And we will do a summary of where we've got to and how we got here, and then what we need to do for the review over the next few months. The second workshop, we will present the options to councillors of how we might wish to look at this in terms of number of elected members or wards, and then just keep moving through on the review and process over the next few months. I should point out the second workshop, which is published here on the 10th of April, has now moved to the 24th, but that's been updated in your calendars.
Questions?
I do have a question. When we considered the type of voting system that we would want to adopt last year, there was a general feeling on the table that it would only be at the maximum 1 and possibly no more elections for the CDC, on the basis that we were pretty keen on merging the councils. Can we revisit that, or is that stable or bolted or unbolted or gone? Or because if we had that discussion again, I'd probably vote for STV.
Yes.
I think it's gone.
Okay, that was just a question.
It was a deadline.
Yeah. And just to add to that, one of the things we've asked Stephen to do at the next workshop is revisit some of those points and clarify where we stand in terms of legislation and our opportunities. Come back to any of those. But I believe it has gone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd endorse that question. I'd like to know why it's gone, where it's gone, what's the legislative restrictor on that? Because we were all under that, looking at that goal, which appears to keep moving because turkeys don't want Christmas to come around.
For whatever reason, but
They don't.
I think we're going to be here for a while.
Well, yeah, but it's good point. Are there any other questions?
Noting they will be public workshops.
Yeah. Yeah. All right then. No other questions? One recommendation that we receive a report. Someone to move, please. Councillor Newman, seconded Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Aye. Against? Oh. That's in favour, I take it. Councillor Ayling? Yeah. That was in favour, yeah. Yeah. Okay, motion's carried. Steve's report. 7.8, let's go.
Thankfully, it's not 77 pages, so.
But it's always such a good read, Jeff. No challenge.
The team do a fantastic job with it. So, yeah, a few things to highlight. Dogs and Togs is probably the most fun at the end of the swimming season when we're about to empty the pool. You got and it's the first thing that we're doing is dogs. I know.
Who came up?
Not yet.
I know, it's great, isn't it? It's just
Yeah.
how do you come up with that name? It's yeah.
It's more about how do you evacuate the pool when there might be an emergency break?
Yep, there is. Hence why we're doing it at the end of the swimming season.
Is it only for registered dogs?
Is that moving?
Well, we will have, as the report says, there will be the animal control officer will be on hand and will be offering for those dogs that aren't microchipped, free microchipping. So that will be fantastic.
I think it's great.
So
Just note the date change for
Yeah.
dogs and dogs is now Thursday, the 21st of March, not the Saturday. So we've moved it to a Thursday evening. So that we can ensure that dog rangers there and commuters can come.
How flexible is the closing date, given the weather pattern? I'd hate us to close it and where the drought continues and.
what we normally find is that even though it's a drought, overnight temperatures plummet, which means the pool temperature plummets as well. And we find those that wish to go in cold pools is just reduces. Occupancy drops quite significantly. I don't know if I'm watering my trees from the farm trough and it's noticeably cooler now than it was 2 weeks ago.
This last
night
week
temperatures.
been sort of single digits at 6:30 in the morning.
So keeping on the theme of dogs, further down you'll see that a few photographs of our of the changes we've made to animal facility, which is a really good project that we're bringing to a close. Also just wanted to highlight, and I'm on page 171 now, with the event centre. So there's a really good graph in there that is talking about the statistics for the event centre. And I just wanted to highlight the graph. So the green lines on that graph are community events and the purple lines or pink lines are the internal events. So where we talk about increasing event centre fees and increasing event centre revenue, when we do that, the largest groups that will be impacted will be both the community and the internal groups. And the smallest groups will be commercial and public ticket. And I just really wanted to highlight that because often we have conversations about increasing the fees at the event centre. But the risk with doing that is it is our community and our community events that are impacted the most. Apart from that, I really just wanted to take the report as read. And
I've only got one question, Jeff. We advised the government the change of Anzac Day.
I see that.
changed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that.
April.
We've moved it to the 2nd of April.
It's the 2nd of April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got clearance for that.
Right. Well, we'll double check with the government as to whether or not they've accepted our proposal.
April 1st, maybe?
April 1st. All right. Round the table. Councillor Cretney, please.
Thanks, His Worship. Jeff, just on page 165, the colour run. That's going to be a Marston District Council is going to become involved in it, and potentially South Wairarapa District Council make the Wairarapa event. Linda, do you know about that?
I did not, but that would align with our youth strategy, being that we're a combined youth strategy and we've got the 3 development teams, youth development, community development team. So that may be that, I mean, if it is great, it'll bring more people here and we'll continue to do it.
We talked about it at our recent R2R meeting, and Deb said that Marston Youth Council were extremely keen for it to be a combined event.
That'd be great.
Make it just one big event, so there's not a colour run on each of the 3 councils as such, it's just one.
years ago, it was between the Wairarapa Council and Aotearoa. So it was one of the contracts that connected communities had with Carterton District Council and Aotearoa had. So we were busing young people up here from Marston, and that was pre-COVID. So it's changed and moved around, and we've now got an individual council. So it's great that I'm going to do that.
Well, hopefully someone gets in touch with you soon. It's
Any other questions? Councillor Della.
Yes, Jeff, in regulatory and planning report on page 175, paragraph 5, you've got sites where there's multiple buildings and multi-compliance schedules, and you're working for them to consolidate them, obviously. We have spent 2 days with one such site that has 9 buildings established on site versus what council record shows. We are expecting this to take about 2 weeks of council officer time to resolve. My question is that for our records only, or is it for clarity with the client, obviously, and is it chargeable back?
Would you like me to answer?
This is BWOF. Thank you. Solitaire.
Basically, because there's 9 buildings there on site at the moment, some of them have got BWOFs that are some of them have got expired ones. So what we're working with this one company in particular is to try and consolidate all their BWOFs, have a look at what their specified systems are. They've upgraded any of them and they haven't updated those compliance schedules in the BWOFs. We need to update all of them. So once the BWOF is issued, that will be a public document because they get issued on an annual basis, being a building on fitness. They're meant to be on display. But it just, for some of these businesses, they were doing them as a building consent commitment, but from a practical and customer service point of view, having one BWOF that covers the entire site is so much easier, and then we can send them out a reminder to do it, and it's just updating that one, as opposed to 9 different BWOFs that are all expiring at 9 different times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they are public ones, yeah.
Yeah, but our time involved in doing that is that obviously to our benefit, and their benefit, not chargeable.
We wouldn't be charging for it because you look at the funding split with building consent, and that is public and private good. So it's not totally directly related to a building consent. We're just doing this because we've got some downtime now. It's a great opportunity to tidy up a whole lot of stuff that when we are doing nothing but processing and inspecting, we don't have that time to do.
Yep.
And it's a public safety, public good component of our fees and charges.
Yep.
And our funding.
Good. Thank you.
Councillor Cretney.
Thanks, His Worship. I just wanted to comment on page 175, the animal control. I just want to comment how it's a fantastic outcome compared to the dollar value that was proposed initially. And just reflecting on our neighbours and the dollars that they have spent. And I think this is a great outcome. So well done, Solitaire and the team for that, because I think it's fantastic. To me, that's all that's required to keep dogs happy and probably even more than happy.
Thank you.
Well done.
Unlike our neighbours, we didn't get an award for
it. Did we apply?
You will from the ratepayers. The Waitangi Day celebrations at Hurunui-Arangi Marae, I went out to that. It was sensational. I sent to Whakapono an email but I just want to publicly say how well they did the organising, and it was such a great day. For those who couldn't get to Waitangi or didn't want to go to Waitangi, when you saw on the news the tension on the marae, and then you go out to our local marae where the welcome mat was out, the food, the entertainment, the weather turned up. It was sensational, and I hope it's a regular event because what a great opportunity to,
Very grateful for the marae. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. Councillor Ayling.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. One was on page 167, talking about the Clearville connection, the need to culvert a 400-metre long stormwater section, is that as big a job as it sounds?
We're just working through details at the moment, Grace, so we don't know the details of what that job looks like yet. It is, I would say, or Johannes, you might be able to help me. Is that a big job?
Just getting out of under the bus. I haven't seen the details, so can't comment at this time.
Yeah, we've just done the initial walk, and that's what so we Hope and Grace came with us for our walkthrough. That was one of the comments they've made. They're coming back to us with the detailed designs and the costings and everything around that at a later date. That will then go back to Kiwi Rail for approval, and yeah, so it's a long way away before I could probably answer that question.
Cool, thank you.
If I could add, Councillor Ayling.
Yep.
In a rail corridor, it will make it more complicated than anywhere else.
Yeah, it sounded complicated, but I'm not an expert on culverts. My second question was about the parks. Mentioned that there were 2 resignations in the team, and I said that one role has been filled. My first question was, has the second role been filled? And if not, has council considered, instead of hiring another full-timer, utilising some of those funds and sort of helping beef up the Keep Carterton Beautiful group, if we helped them with, say, Facebook marketing or something to attract more people to that group, because they do such good work. If there was more support and they were able to generate more attention, I wonder if that would sort of fill the void.
Yeah, a really good question. We often backfill in the Parks and Reserves team with the scheme is called
Green.
Project Green. So we often fill with Project Green, so it's subsidised support, and the team come in and they often find a permanent job with us. So it is common that we employ staff, they get skills, they enjoy their work, and then they go off and do something else. So we haven't filled the second vacancy yet permanently.
We haven't filled the vacancy yet. We've just had 2 project in the community teams start on Monday this week. And they go through a 12-week program. So that's mostly funded by work and income, and then we top up the salary of that. So we use that as a really good opportunity to support our local work and income, but we've found that we've had quite a few staff that have come through there that have ended up being long-term staff members for us.
Yeah, and we've got one other staff member who's had heart surgery and is working his way back. So we expect once he's back on deck with his health back up to normal, that'll relieve a lot of the pressure. But you're right, Keep Carterton Beautiful do a fantastic job. They're an amazing group, and sadly the number of them that are over 90 that seem to be out there working in our gardens for us for nothing is just it's amazing. They're wonderful. So absolutely keen to support them.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions, Councillor Cretney, please?
Just on page 178, sorry, 177, the Harmony Energy Solar Farm. Nominations.
Yeah, so with this particular application came through the COVID fast tracking consent process, and we were asked by so they applied to fast track, didn't come through us. The fast track process came back to us and said, have we got anything to say about it? Do we know anything about these people? We had some reasonably straightforward conversations and have left it through the fast track process. Now, we could nominate somebody onto this particular application. They would need to be certified. So we have 2 councillors ourselves who are certified, which if they go on to this particular application may mean they have significantly less time for district plan. So then our next thought was, so do we nominate someone external? to potentially sit on this application. And our question for that was, so what benefit would council get if we nominated someone externally onto this appointment? Solar panels and solar farms in the district seem to be a bit of a lightning rod. And at this point, we could see not a huge amount of benefit nominating someone onto a fast track process, so not a council process, and a process that council had no part of. So at this stage, our recommendation was probably just let it lapse.
So doesn't that, reading what you've written there, doesn't that mean that the relevant person is just going to find someone themselves if we don't appoint someone?
No, they won't appoint anyone.
Do you want me to just answer that one?
Sure.
So if we choose not to appoint, the panel convener of the EPA will appoint somebody who, in their opinion, has a relevant experience, because it says that an EPA fast track consenting panel needs to be made up of technical expertise, planning expertise, and iwi Māori liaison and hearings. So they do have a big pool of commissioners that the EPA do pull in, but they also do have people that they ask them and they decline because they don't want to, because of time and all of that. And bear in mind nominations, so we can nominate 10 people and the EPA turns around and says, no, sorry, they're not what we need. They don't have enough experience. They're not qualified, and they will still then choose to appoint somebody else.
So can we nominate someone?
If the elected members wanted to do that, but the EPA gave us a tight time frame of 10 days to get back to them, we can.
Because I know of an interested person, and that's Alan Withy, who has relevant experience.
And solar farm. I know he's a hearings commissioner.
Often as hearings commissioners, you actually get emails saying that these roles are available and you can apply to be on it. So he would have that opportunity to apply if it's advertised as well. So if he was interested in being on something with a relevant experience, then he would get that communication coming.
On behalf of Carterton?
No, on behalf of the EPA.
He's paid plenty now, isn't he, Steve? Is he back here?
I couldn't answer that question.
We can certainly make
Yeah.
If it's one of the elected members, we can certainly make contact with Mr. Withy. I've got his details anyway. When he first moved to Carterton, he sent me his CV. And we can we could just write back to the panel convener and just say, look, we need a few more days to confirm a panel member, see if it's availability, but bear in mind they're expecting 4 months of work.
So can I just clarify, what would be the benefit of that to council?
I'm not sure. I was just told that Alan Withy was keen to be our representative on council. It's read in the agenda, and we could have a representative.
But he wouldn't represent us, would he?
He would be appointed to represent Carterton, but it would be on the aspects of the consents that are relevant to the district planning. And I think if you go online and have a look at the Harmony application, there's only about 3 rules in our district plan that they're actually triggering a consent requirement from us. And one of them relates to parking and loading. So if we started getting involved in all the environmental issues and all of that, that would sit outside the scope. The regional council are also looking to appoint a person, and I have had a chat to them, and they have given me the name of who they're going to approach, and that person from them will be looking at all the proposed natural resource plans, the impact on the ecosystems, and all those consent triggers from the regional council point of view, if the EPA accept that person.
Yeah, I guess, the council can always consider and take that, we can take that away as a further conversation to be had, but conversations that we were having at the time was, this is not our process. Most of the issues that are going to be traversed are regional council environmental related issues. To be frank, there's a rising chorus of people who are accusing Carterton Council of doing a bunch of things in the solar energy space that we're not involved in. Question being, where is the benefit and the gain for Carterton Council, for you as elected representatives, putting someone in a space that we have no control over anyway, and was being statutorily set up by the government to be outside of our control. That is not to mean to say that residents of Carterton cannot make their own submissions to that body, whether we want to appoint someone to be our representative in a body that we actually have no statutory control over, is a question which, at the time when Jeff and I talked about it, I couldn't see any gain in it for us. So, but happy to take that as a action point that we will have further conversation on and work through. I think the key thing is understand what the advantages, disadvantages and consequences are, and who's got the time to do that.
There's a time constraint for putting a nomination away, so
we may be able.
The EPA write to us, and basically we have like 10 working days to do it, which is why we flagged this in the council meeting. They were wanting feedback by this evening.
We could buy some time. We could buy a week.
We can buy some time, but we probably need that decision from elected members at this meeting if you're wanting an external commissioner appointed.
And
that's why it's flagged in the report.
And I think we would need to be clear as to what the terms of reference for a person who's on that body in our name, what would be, what is that?
We would only be putting them forward as a nomination, and there's no guarantee that the EPA are going to appoint them anyway. So again, how much work is involved to do something
Or
when it's not our process?
Yeah,
if we said we wanted to appoint and the person that we had in mind didn't want the job or whatever, then are we then stuck in?
Would you want us to go through this, Councillor Cretney?
I was just putting it on the table.
Yeah.
I was asked to put it on the table, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
I think the further we stay away from these things, the better.
Yeah.
Until we're forced to take a decision.
The point Councillor Cherry-Campbell made is right. They have a gazette, and because people who are hearings commissioners, it's their job.
Yeah.
They're looking around for
work.
Yeah. For work that's in their field of interest, and they make application.
Noted, I think. Well, since we noted, Councillor Cretney has asked to put it on the table, we put it on the table. And the explanations are where we are.
Yeah.
But if there's a strong feeling, then we'll have to make representation to extend.
We can go back and see if we can extend the deadline for a week.
And
we can try that.
And do a test just to see if there's a name they would accept.
Yep.
Okay.
That's not what we're asking.
No.
We can try and extend the deadline.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
That's not what we're asking.
You're not? Okay.
Well, I'm.
It's not what you wanted?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the consensus is.
I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
But thank you, Councillor Cretney, for being upfront, putting it on the table for us to discuss. Any other questions? Yes, Councillor Newman.
Page 173. We continue to have vandalism issues at the Carterton Park toilets. What is the plan?
Toilets, taking them out.
Dig a hole.
Yeah, so one of the plans was actually, and His Worship is quite right, one of the plans was to reduce the number of toilets.
Okay.
And the next possible step would be to close them during the darkest of dark hours. So, if we close them between 10 and 6 or something, that may work, and leave Memorial Square toilets open for those that want to.
So those things going to start happening? Are you going to start reducing the number of toilets?
So there's only the 24-hour toilet at Carterton Park open in the evening, starting at 7 night, and then the Memorial Square ones. So Memorial Square doesn't see as much vandalism as Carterton Park. So we can trial.
We can trial close it.
Okay, so there's nothing you're waiting for. You just need to make that call.
Yep.
Yep.
I have a further question on that, and I guess it's possibly don't know, but when does the vandalism tend to occur? Does it really occur between the darkest of dark hours, between 10 and 6, or is it it could be during the day when some little rat bags have been using Carrington Park and just decide to rip stuff off walls. And
I think it's very sporadic. The cleaners could be in there in the morning and they'll be fine, and then they'll be broken by the evening, or they're broken by the next day when she's back in there again. So it's very
we don't know when it's
we
happening.
don't know when.
It's an occupational hazard. I mean, the reason Memorial Square doesn't get the damage is there's fewer people congregate there. Carrington Park is where people want to be, and unfortunately, there's an element who don't respect property.
A particular demographic. And I think the other thing is, and probably validates the proposition that we should just close it in off hours, is that Memorial Square toilets are closed. They are locked after a certain hour, and they don't suffer the same degree of vandalism. Well, what? Why would you make it 24 hours? No. Sparks Park? No.
Is that 24 hours?
24. Sparks Park, 24 hours. Is it?
Pond.
No, there is a toilet there, isn't there?
Not 24 hours.
No. Why
Open at night.
why would we have them?
Legally have to have a 24-hour toilet in town. So we could try moving it to Memorial Square. I mean, that one if we wanted to, and then if that doesn't work, we could just, they've got to drive to Great House.
Well, that's easy. 10 minutes to drive to Great House.
That far,
8 minutes.
come on.
We're doing 24-hour toilets. And my second question is, do we have, I know we have a camera outside. We wouldn't be silly enough to put cameras inside the toilets, but we do have cameras monitoring who comes and goes. What are those cameras telling us about trafficking in the wee hours of the morning? Do we have people there? And if so, who are they? Do we know that? Because if it's a truck driver or a bus driver pulling over, popping in at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's one thing. If it's a whole bunch of people sitting around doing antisocial activities at 1 o'clock in the morning, that's something different. We must have a pattern of life.
I think it's a good action. Let's take an action, and I'll talk to the team about whether or not we close Carrington Park and open Memorial Square, or potentially close both.
Close both. Okay. I can go home and go to the toilet. Might solve some other problems. Any other questions?
Good report.
Great. And woohoo for the $40,000 saved.
So someone like to move that we receive the CE's report, please. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, team, for all of that. Data guys, nomination requests.
Yes, so we've given you this report on the Wairarapa Dark Skies Reserve Association, which seems to have changed its name more times than I changed my socks. And I think that's reflective of the association's changing nature and the actual work and success that has been done at achieving a dark sky reserve. So it's gone from a small group of individuals that have this really good idea, and it's morphed into actually achieving a dark sky reserve, and it now wants to maintain that dark sky reserve status, essentially expand it to master. So I am being somewhat facetious with the group. They've been particularly successful at what they've set out to do. What they're asking for here, and I'm not sure my paper makes it clear enough, is that as part of their final change to look after the reserve status and maintain that dark sky reserve status, they had changed their organisation to essentially a committee which is governing the organisation, and they want to connect to interested parties in the community, so councils, central government, local iwi, etc. And that would be the Community Sport Council. So they've asked us to be on that Community Sport Council, and I've outlined a whole bunch of things in there. The challenge for us is Dark Skies is quite a new space. There's it feels a little bit to me like it's the new toy in town and everyone wants to play with the new toy. So that's Destination Wairarapa, the WEDS group, the Wairarapa Economic Development Strategy, both want to play in this space. My final piece of feedback was the Community Support Council that they're proposing to set up as an engagement mechanism with councils, with us. And so they're asking for a nomination on it. My feedback would be that there are other ways that we can engage the association without actually having a nominated person on that, and we do that with other community groups if you like. So I don't see an urgency around this. If councillors do, I'm more than happy to take your feedback.
I have a view, but I'm waiting to hear what people's views are.
I think if they came and gave us a report once a year, they're only planning to meet once or twice a year. Given that we've had appointments on other community groups in the past that have proven to be challenging or compromise council at certain times, I think this, yeah, I agree with you. If we asked them for a report or they sent us a copy of their newsletter to councillors as they do, that would be more than adequate.
While you're pondering, I will share for a penny's worth my thoughts. And so I've long said, you know, there are risks with councillors being appointed onto any other body in your community. And there's also that the view develops from that by your presence and being engaged in that committee and supporting them, that you're actually automatically bringing council's agreement and concurrence with the plans, with the budget, with everything that's happening into, and that's not the case. Council is a sovereign body that makes its own determinations and decisions as to who it can support and who it can't and why. And the way we have a council appointed person outside of council on DW, and those things are historic and they've gone on and on. If that question was asked today, we might have a different view on whether that's appropriate. This is a new proposition, a new body, an opportunity for us to decide whether or not we want to continue with that modus operandi or take a different approach. I, for myself, I mean, I thoroughly support Dark Skies and I compliment those councillors who were part of the decision to make Carterton a part of one of 20 sites in the world. And I was just commenting before the meeting to Councillor Cherry-Campbell that, you know, you go up, get a bit of altitude up in the Tararuas, which I'm fortunate enough to have, and the difference between the glow over Carterton and our neighbours is substantial. So the steps that you've taken, council has taken, by adopting as part of its strategic plan, by putting funding in, has been pretty damn awesome. And we've done that without being a part of the committee. And we can continue to support and motivate and assist without being part of the committee. Now, that's my view. And I don't know how many of you have got time to throw around, but
stick to our knitting, don't we?
Yeah, so nice to be invited, but can't go to every party in town. That's my view. Over to you, though. This is a democracy.
Just one little question. The document that's got your signature on, Jeff, what's that got to do with anything?
So, a really good question. In December last year, before Wairarapa Dark Sky Reserve Association changed their constitution, they wanted to, it was just after we received the accreditation from the International Dark Skies Association, they wanted to ensure that all groups worked together in developing the plan on how to promote, how to market, how to share our dark sky reserve status. And so those groups got together, set up a 1 year plan and said, let's get on and do this with 1 year. And as part of that, this group has gone away and changed the structure to, we just want to look after the reserve status. Somebody else can look after tourism, marketing, promotion, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's the 1 year document is really just a continuation of keeping everybody together on the same boat as each of the parties figure out what their role is now that we've got dark sky accreditation.
There is a copy of this with everybody's signature on. You're not the only one who ever signed.
Correct. Yes, I only had the one that I had signed. Correct. It wasn't just me.
Councillor Ayling, any views?
No, I'm happy to go your superior advice on there being not a need for us to sit on these external boards and get them to report to us. I'm also very interested in dark sky, so I was like, oh, that sounds cool. But yeah, I agree. I think it can be dangerous for councillors to be aligning themselves too closely with these groups. So yeah, I'm happy.
So let's go straight to recommendations. See his report. Someone to move. Oh, we've done that. Yeah, we've done that. But the second part was agreeing to nominate someone, and if I
put the motion,
take it as read, put the motion that we agree, and if it fails, that it fails. No, it's got to be moved first. Is there anyone willing to move that we agree to nominate someone? There be no one willing to move the motion. The recommended motion fails.
Thank you. Can I just clarify who received the report?
No, I didn't do it. I'll check.
No.
Right. Councillor Cherry-Campbell, seconded by Councillor Gallen. Is he in a good mood today? All in favour? Against? Motion is carried.
Very good.
Thank you, Robert.
Then you have to seek, do you then have to seek a nod?
No, I think we took them the wrong way around.
Yeah, we took them the wrong way, but we did them. That's yeah. I ticked.
We did pass both motions.
I was thinking ahead and I ticked the recommendation. I hadn't done it.
Very good.
Anyway.
Then the next one was the LGOIMA report.
Yeah, I'm just going to flip through his pages. Oh, God. Okay. 7.1, page 201. Welcome back.
Back again.
You're doing everything today.
Wouldn't go that far. Right, standard report, number of obviously November was quite a busy month, and then it seemed to drop off in February and January. But the ones I think we got in November were quite big. So some of the details are included in the attachment, and I guess we just continue to answer them. And where we can. Extension if the information required is more complicated, and it's just part of doing business.
I make my usual comments.
Yeah, the hiring.
I want to go first.
Well, I mean,
The hiring.
Oh, no, Councillor Cherry-Campbell.
there's a repeat one from somebody who's in prison asking a whole lot of questions and clearly can't get access to anything if they're in prison. I mean, I hope we're charging for that. I mean, that's just a nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm going to take it out of their cigarette.
going to pay.
They're going to pay out of this.
Going to send it to the builder, correct?
And the other one is the Taxpayers Union. You know, I find that remarkable. There's an organisation that criticises councils for not spending their money wisely, and they want to know how many party hats and Christmas crackers. There's an organisation with an X number of paid staff, and yet I presume every council's got a request like that. But my question is, are they being charged to supply that information?
No, because generally some of the questions are not applicable to us, and generally we can answer them very quickly. So it doesn't take us a lot. And the Taxpayers Union, there is one that's annual, so we are used to providing that information. So they don't take, some of them don't take as long. The Christmas party one was a bit.
We didn't hire Santa.
No,
They want to know about Secret Santa present, and then were there any decorations left over? I mean,
But the one on the next page, the brown highlighted one, boy, oh boy, that's the work involved in that. I can't believe it.
That's the annual one, isn't it?
the annual one with
The brown, the reason it's brown
That's
is
the
we
ratepayers
haven't
report
yet
question.
answered it. Yeah.
Say again, councillor Ayling?
That's the ratepayers report questionnaire that the council answers for the collation of that data.
It comes every year.
and we have since answered it. So it's an annual one. But to be honest, about 6 people provide responses to that one question, and then I collate them and then review them, and kind of, it's BAU, sadly. And some of the questions, bigger councils, you could just tell from the detail they're looking for, and in some cases I'll go not applicable.
Given that the Green Party has quite a substantial budget, now parliamentary budget, are we charging them? Their budget just took a massive jump up with the increase in the number of MPs they got.
I can't recall, but I think the fees are something like, is it $38?
Yeah, they did change something. I think we changed them last year. We had a couple of litigious LGOIMA requests that ran into 900 pages. So shortly thereafter, our fee structure changed.
Because I'm anticipating they could have got that information from Waka Kotahi.
And in some cases, I had a request recently about something. Sorry, I can't quite remember the detail. It was all in the annual report.
Yeah.
So you just point them to the annual report.
Right.
You don't answer the questions.
And they sit on the select committee, so they could ask those questions at select committee, as opposed to wasting our time. And that's the beauty of having council meetings live and recorded. You can make sure that the ratepayers know they're getting value for their vote. Annoying. It's annoying. Yeah. All right.
We don't put it in there until you deliver it.
So the party that's asking is not noted. Is that because they're individuals?
Yes.
Private.
Yeah. So we don't know who wanted information on any payment made by the Carterton District Council to external suppliers for purchases of goods and services between it's a year. What's requested is a compiled list, ideally, etc. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I see who they are. That one seemed to be an individual, which was interesting. But sometimes these people are asking a lot of councils the same question, so they're not necessarily singling out us.
It can be doing research, so it often gets researchers questions that are sent to every single council.
And sometimes we get media requests that really are LGOIMA, so we move them into that category to
I see that.
time to compile the information.
Particularly one of them could well be from Chester Road.
Some of them are, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Are we comfortable?
Oh. Phrase your question in a different way, Your Worship.
Will you accept the report?
I shall keep. Yeah, yeah, okay. Such is democracy.
Given Dale's eyesight, I wonder if we could change the font even more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, blur it out even more.
Okay. Someone move that we receive the report. Councillor Newman, seconded. Councillor Gala, all in favour? Against? Why would you be? Thank you. Thank you. Exclusion of the public. Need to resolution to exclude the section 8.
Thank you, Stefan.
There, Stefan.
Thank you, Stephen. A resolution to exclude the public recommendation that the public be excluded for the following parts of the procedure meeting and for the reasons as stated in the document on page 210. Someone would like to move, please. Yes, Councillor Cretney, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. All in favour, please. Against? Motion is carried. We are in public excluded.
Yeah.